Hello again. Welcome to class 421. Let's continue with our good friend, Philip Johnson. He's lying in bed. He's lying in bed. He's holding the remote control. He's holding the remote. The television is on. I think the television is on. I can't see the television in the picture. And but I don't think he's watching. I don't think he's watching the shows on television, the programs on television, because he's thinking about George Clooney. All right. Philip Johnson. Let's go through it. Let's go through it carefully this time. I'll stop along the way. I'll stop along the way to comment on grammar or on vocabulary or on structure. Philip Johnson is lying in bed thinking about George Clooney. His wife, Nancy, is still in the kitchen washing dishes. Sigue en la cocina a estas alturas de la noche. She's still in the kitchen washing dishes. Pues no tienen lavaplatos, lavavajillas. Don't they have a dishwasher? They should have a dishwasher. But Nancy, his wife, is still in the kitchen washing dishes. Half an hour ago, half an hour ago no, half an hour, or hace media hora, half an hour ago, Nancy told him about the offer from Eddie Campbell, her old friend, to decorate George Clooney's house, or George Clooney's home, dice aquí. Home, house. House es la estructura física. Home es el hogar. But in this case, you can use both. All right? Half an hour ago, Nancy told him about the offer. La oferta is the offer. The offer from Eddie Campbell to decorate George Clooney's home in Aspen, Colorado. He's not worried about George Clooney. Philip is not worried about George. Okay. He's not worried about George Clooney. The guy, el tipo, the guy must be around 65. No, 60. He must be around 60. I don't know. Debe de tener unos 50, 60 años ahora, ¿no? George Clooney, ¿no crees? I don't know. He must be around 60 by now. Para ahora, para estos días, ya. He must be around 60. And besides, y además, and besides, he heard that up close, George Clooney isn't so handsome. He's not that handsome. He's not that handsome. What worries him, however, si tiene preocupaciones, lo que le preocupa, sin embargo, what worries him, however, ¿dónde estoy? Is that Nancy, that if, okay, borra, start again. What worries him, however, is that if Nancy, his wife, if Nancy does a good job on Clooney's home, she'll probably start getting offers of a similar type. More offers. She'll start getting offers of a similar type. A lot of Hollywood stars own homes in Aspen. A lot of Hollywood stars, claro, muchas estrellas de Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood stars own homes. Poseen casas, tienen casas en propiedad. Own, O-W-N. A lot of Hollywood stars own homes in Aspen. And Philip could imagine, podría imaginar, Philip could imagine Nancy getting involved in a lot of work up there. Up there means allá arriba en las rocosas, the Rocky Mountains. And Philip could imagine Nancy, his wife, getting involved in, to get involved in, involucrándose en. To get involved is involucrarse. To get involved in, involucrarse en. So he could imagine Nancy getting involved in a lot of work up there in Aspen. On the other hand, it might be, on the other hand means in cambio, it might be a good opportunity for him too. Yeah, a good opportunity for me. Not only for my wife, but for me. Yeah. Even though he's the general manager of the Lincoln Bank, he's not a member of the board of directors. Even though, aunque, también podríamos decir although he's not a member of the, well, although he's the general manager, he's not a member of the board of directors, Pero although tiene poca fuerza. Even though se antepone mucho más. Even though, aun siendo, even though he's the general manager of the Lincoln Bank, he's not a member of the board of directors. The board of directors, segunda pronunciación, the board of directors. Ambos nos valen. Director, lo que más te guste. Whichever one you like, all right? Whichever one you prefer. Whichever one you preferred. Director, all right. Even though he's the general manager of the Lincoln Bank, he's not a member of the board of directors. In many cases, he doesn't have the final decision. Sometimes, dos M's, sometimes he feels more like a glorified employee. O sea, empleado glorificado, no. In English, yes, it suena raro en español, pero a glorified employee. Sometimes he feels more like a glorified employee than a real decision maker. A decision maker. I'm a decision maker. Marta's a decision maker. Tomamos decisiones. Somos decidores. Somos tomadores de decisiones. Yeah. We're not afraid to make decisions. Are you afraid to make decisions? No. She says she's not afraid to make decisions. And me? I'm not afraid to make decisions either. So neither Marta nor I are afraid to make decisions. And Nancy's husband, Philip Johnson, he's not making enough decisions in his opinion. The board of directors is making decisions, and he has to implement or carry out the decisions. Sometimes he feels more like a glorified employee than a real decision maker. And besides, he hates, pobrecito, he odia tener que viajar a Omaha. He hates having to travel. He hates to have to travel. Después de like y después de hate, gerund or infinitive. Odio viajar a Omaha. Aquí se dice Omaha. Odio viajar. I hate to travel to Omaha, or I hate traveling to Omaha. Both are correct. So, and besides, he hates traveling to Omaha all the time. Pobre. You have to drive to Omaha. Yes. Omaha is the most important city in Nebraska. It's located on the Missouri River, which is the border between Nebraska and Iowa. The fifth richest man in the world, Warren Buffett, lives in Omaha, and he grew up in Omaha. He's called El Oráculo de Omaha, se llama en español. The Oracle of Omaha, or the Sage, el sabio, escrito sage, the Sage of Omaha. All right, but Philip hates traveling to Omaha, and he has to travel all the time there. The bank has several difficult clients in Omaha, and Philip always has to argue with them about payments. Ha vencido el pago y no has pagado, That's the problem with the bank. Philip has to go to Omaha, sit down in front of bad clients who are not returning their loans. Devolver un préstamo is to return a loan. Un préstamo. Loan, escrito, se pronuncia loan. Claro, al decir un préstamo suena solito. I am alone. Pagué el préstamo yo solito. I paid the loan alone. So, he has to argue with the clients about payments. So, the bank has several difficult clients in Omaha, and Philip always has to argue with them, discutir, argue with them about payments, pagamentos, o sea, pagos, about payments. He may In the new situation, he may be able to find a job in a bank in Aspen. Yeah. The town is quite big. In high season, in low season, temporada alta, temporada baja. Season, son como estación de año, spring, summer, fall, winter. Those are the four seasons. The four seasons. Now, season is temporada. The football season, the baseball season, the basketball season, hunting season, temporada de caza. So it's season. Temporada alta, temporada baja. High season, low season. The town is quite big. The town is quite big, bastante grande. The town is quite big, Aspen. In high season, seguro que hay. There must be at least 50,000 people there, living there, and they need bank accounts, like everybody else, like everyone else, like me, like you, like Marta. We all need bank accounts for the moment. Things are changing very fast. Maybe in the future we don't need bank accounts. I don't know. He could probably get a good job in a local bank. Or maybe he could get an even better job in Denver. Denver's the capital of Colorado and the biggest city. Denver's the capital of Colorado and it's the biggest city. Denver's only 2 hours from Aspen. 3. Here it says 2. I think it's 2.5 or 3 hours. Denver is only 2 hours. Voy a seguir lo que dice aquí. Denver's only 2 hours from Aspen, and maybe Nancy could work out of Denver instead of living in Aspen. You know, está poniendo el carro delante de los bueyes, okay, which means it's the tale of the milkmaid, el cuento de la lechera, no? It's the story of the milkmaid. O sea, mozo de leche, milkmaid is la lechera. So he's thinking ahead too much. Wait. All right, wait. Philip, you're thinking ahead too much. You're thinking ahead pensando hacia adelante. To think ahead. You're thinking ahead too much, Philip. Calm down. Take it easy. All right? So, but he thinks that Nancy could work out of Denver. Fíjate, digo work out of. Trabajar fuera de. No, cuando tienes base de operaciones, un sitio, pero trabajas desde esa base de operaciones, solemos decir out of. I live in Madrid. Yeah, I live in Madrid. I work out of Madrid. I work in Segovia, Toledo, Ávila, Chinchón, etc., Cuenca. But I'm based in Madrid, so I work out of Madrid. It's a funny way of speaking in English. Denver is only 2 hours from Aspen. And maybe, está pensando en voz alta. Bueno, está pensando. And maybe Nancy could work out of Denver instead of living in Aspen, instead of, rather than living in Aspen, in vez de. Denver would also be a good city for Michael. Fíjate cómo uso la D de would. También sería buena ciudad para Michael, el hijo del baloncesto. Denver would also be a good city for Michael. Would also. Como se dice muñeca, doll. Would also. Denver would also be. Practica eso en voz alta. Would also. Para. You need to start forming, you need to continue. I've told you this for a year and a half. You need to continue working on good phonetic habits. Denver would also be. La D is trampoline. Denver would also be a good city for Michael. Basketball in Colorado is even more competitive than in Nebraska. Lo cual significa, which means that basketball is very competitive in Nebraska, but in Colorado, even more. Basketball is even more competitive in Colorado than in Nebraska. Maybe he's counting his chickens before they hatch. Yes. Posiblemente esté contando sus polluelos antes que salgan de la cáscara, del huevo, vamos. Before they, we say, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Hatch, como serías match, o partido de fútbol, football match. Le quitas la M y pones un H, hatch. Es lo que, cuando se rompe el huevo y sale el animal. En este caso, a chick, or a future chicken. Yeah, don't count your chickens before they hatch. No pongas el carro delante de los bueyes o no. Se la cuenta la lechera. Don't make plans based on something that's not a reality yet, okay? Maybe he's counting his chickens before they hatch. In any case, he'll tell Nancy that he supports her 100%. He'll tell Nancy that he supports her 100%. All right. Well, what do you think, Philip? It's an interesting situation. What would you do? What would you do? Would you say yes to Nancy? Okay. She will spend, in the next 7, 8, or 9 months, if she says yes, if she accepts the offer, she will need to spend 60% of her time away from home, away from her husband, away from her children, and away from Lincoln, Nebraska. In Aspen, Colorado, decorating an old home, 100 years old. And occasionally, George Clooney will come to Aspen to supervise the work, to suggest modifications or to suggest ideas, to offer ideas. And in the meantime, well, Philip will continue working in the bank in Lincoln, Nebraska. Michael and Denise will continue going to school. Michael will continue with his basketball, his football, and his baseball. And Nancy's mother and sister will come up from Coffeyville, Kansas, in the south of Kansas. If you look at a map, you have Kansas in the middle of the United States, and immediately north, just north, is Nebraska. Nebraska and Kansas are practically in the middle of the United States. Kansas is a wheat state, trigo, solo trigo, and Nebraska's only corn, maíz. But the sister and mother live in Coffeyville, which is in the south of Kansas, near the border with Oklahoma and Missouri. Here, Missouri, Oklahoma. So they need to drive north, 3 or 4 hours, I think. And so the idea is for Nancy's sister and mother to move to Lincoln temporarily, to go back and forth, or to go up and stay. It depends. It depends, because if Nancy takes the job, there are 2 possibilities. All right, she can work on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and return on Sunday. She can work 3 days every week, or she can work 3 or 4 days every week, practically living in Aspen, or she can go every 3 weeks and spend the entire week. I think in the end, al final, no at the end sería al final de un recorrido. Yeah, from the pencil to the microphone. The microphone is at the end of the road, at the end of the journey, el final del viaje. At the end of the trip, at the end, we have a microphone. But when you say al final tendré que hacerlo de esta manera. Se dice in the end, porque no es al final de un recorrido. Mira, al final, a veces se dice al final del día en inglés. At the end of the day, at the end of the day. So I'll finally So in the end, she will probably spend 4 or 5 days every week, 4 days every week, 4 days in Aspen, 3 days in Lincoln. Well, maybe 2 days in Lincoln because she needs to travel back and forth, back and forth. She can fly. There are direct flights or nonstop flights from Lincoln, Nebraska to Denver. And then from Denver, she has a car. She keeps at the airport and she will drive from there to Aspen. The entire trip from door to door, where she stays in Aspen in a hotel in Aspen, from door to door, I think it's about 6 hours, no more, maybe 7 hours to go to the Lincoln airport, fly to Denver, get her car. She has a car parked in the Denver airport, a rented car, long-term, a largo plazo, rented car, a long-term rental. And she drives 3 hours to Aspen. Now the flight from Lincoln to Denver is an hour and a half. To go from her house to the airport and everything, it's an hour before she takes off. An hour, 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, another hour to get her car and everything and exit the airport. The Denver airport is very big. And then 3 hours. So we're talking about 7 hours. So it's a long trip. And going back, it's the same. So at least 14 hours every week is simply involved in moving from Denver to Lincoln or vice versa. From Denver to Lincoln to Denver, and well, from Lincoln to Aspen and vice versa. So it's a big decision. It's a big decision. Now, Philip is, no me quites a Philip aquí. Philip is, sometimes Marta removes the picture. Philip has decided to support his wife 100%. Respaldarla, apoyarla. He has made the decision, or he has decided, contracción, he's decided to support her 100%. But there's a second reason, because George Clooney is going to pay Nancy $250,000. $250,000 in euros, 210,000 euros. Would you do it? Would you do it for that? Yeah. Not bad, eh? Not bad. Yeah. I mean, for Nancy, that's the equivalent. Well, Nancy, as you know, Nancy works in the morning in a technical college, a vocational technical training college, como FP2 aquí, teaching interior design for 2 hours a day. And I don't know, I think she makes about $5,000 a year, maybe $5,000 a year, $7,000 a year, I don't know. But nothing, no le sacará de pobre. Okay, nothing to scream and shout about, nothing to write home about. You say, no para tirar cohetes, se dice aquí. We say, no es nada para escribir a casa, una carta. Nothing to write home about, nothing to scream and shout, de chillar y gritar. So which means let's say she makes maybe $7,000 a year, teaching in the vocational technical college. And then in the afternoons, she is a freelance decorator, and sometimes she makes good money, sometimes she doesn't. As a decorator, similar to an architect, it's a feast and famine profession. Feast and famine. To be an architecture, to be an architect is a very, very good job. Very important. But it's a feast or famine job. Feast or famine. Feast means festín, comilona. Famine is hambruna. No comes nada. Famine, escrito familia, es hambruna, a gran escala. Pero puesto que los dos empiezan por F, feast or famine. An architect and a decorator are when the economy is down, when the economic situation is bad, there's no work. When the economic situation, when the economy is booming, you have more work than you can handle. You have more work than you need. But when the economy is declining, or when the economy is in a recession, there's very little work, usually, for an architect or a decorator, especially if the recession has affected the real estate market. Real estate is la actividad inmobiliaria, compra-venta de casas y propiedad comercial, propiedades. That's real estate. La palabra estate, escrito estate, con E delante, estate, significa patrimonio. Mi patrimonio, my estate. El impuesto sobre el patrimonio, estate tax, estate. Planificación de patrimonios, estate planning. Gestión de patrimonios, estate management. Pero si pones real delante, real es real, o sea, bienes raíces, patrimonio real, eso es inmobiliaria. Real estate, and it's very low. So Nancy needs to make a decision. In the next class, we'll make the final decision.